In January of 1977, a meteorological anomaly known as the Blizzard of '77 paralyzed the American Northeast. Snowdrifts reached 30 feet in some counties. Interstates became frozen graveyards for abandoned vehicles. But the true crisis wasn't the snow itself, it was the immediate terrifying collapse of the decentralized fuel supply chain. Propane delivery trucks, massive, heavy vehicles entirely dependent on clear, plowed roads, were trapped inside their depots. Across rural New York and Pennsylvania, thousands of homes that relied exclusively on bottled liquid petroleum gas watched their tank gauges slowly drop to zero. When the propane ran out, the pilot lights died, the stovetops went cold. Families huddled in freezing living rooms, suddenly realizing that their independent off-grid heating and cooking systems were entirely dependent on a diesel truck and a fragile corporate supply chain. But less than 300 miles away, in the deep agricultural valleys of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, the old order Amish were boiling water, canning vegetables, and cooking hot meals over massive roaring blue flames. They were not rationing propane. They were not nervously looking out the window for a delivery truck. They were extracting a highly combustible, perfectly clean cooking fuel directly from the frozen earth beneath their feet. They were utilizing a piece of biological engineering known as the earth gas well. It is a passive, closed-loop mechanical system that captures the natural off-gassing of decomposing organic matter and refines it into a pressurized, limitless supply of pure methane. It costs roughly $300 in salvaged materials to build, requires absolutely zero electricity, and completely severs a household's reliance on the multi-billion-dollar liquid petroleum industry. If you are beginning to understand that true off-grid independence means absolutely owning the production of your fuel, not just renting the steel tank it sits in, you have found the right archive. Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell right now, because the 100-year-old biological blueprints we are pulling from the shadows today completely dismantle the propane monopoly. By the end of this documentary, you will understand exactly how the Amish weaponized simple compost to create an infinite blue flame, and why local zoning boards are absolutely terrified of you learning how to do it. To understand why this technology was deliberately sidelined in modern America, we have to look at the government's own suppressed research. In 1974, just after the OPEC oil embargo terrified the American energy sector, the Department of Energy funded a massive multi-year study at Cornell University under the direction of agricultural engineering pioneer Dr. William Jewell. The mandate was to find a decentralized, renewable energy source that could permanently replace fossil fuels on American farms. Dr. Jewell's team didn't invent a new chemical process. They simply quantified what rural off-grid communities and the Amish had known for a century. Anaerobic digestion. The Cornell study proved that a relatively small, simple, airtight tank filled with dairy manure and agricultural waste could produce enough pure biogas, a mixture of methane and carbon dioxide, to continuously power a farmhouse's stoves, water heaters, and even combustion engines. The science was flawless. The fuel was completely free. The output was a clean burning flame that rivaled commercial natural gas. So, why don't you have an earth gas well in your backyard today? Because by the early 1980s, the fossil fuel supply chains stabilized, and the massive liquid petroleum corporations lobbied aggressively to kill decentralized fuel initiatives. They recognized a terrifying reality. If every rural homeowner and suburban farmer could generate their own cooking gas using grass clippings and kitchen scraps, a massive, highly profitable sector of the energy market would evaporate overnight. The funding for residential anaerobic digestion was quietly slashed. The blueprints were buried in university archives, and local municipalities began drafting new sanitation and fuel storage codes that specifically classified homemade biogas digesters as unregulated hazardous utilities, effectively making them illegal for the average homeowner to build. But the Amish, shielded by extreme agricultural zoning exemptions and a fierce cultural refusal to connect to municipal utilities, simply ignored the new regulations and kept perfecting the earth gas well. The genius of the Amish system lies in its brutal simplicity. A modern, commercially built biogas digester for an industrial farm costs upwards of $100,000, relying on complex electronic agitators, electric heating coils, and computerized pressure sensors. The Amish achieve the exact same biological result using roughly $300 worth of raw materials, salvaged 275-gallon IBC totes, heavy-duty PVC piping, a brass gas valve, and the thermal mass of the earth itself. The entire process relies on a specific family of microscopic organisms called methanogens. These bacteria are some of the oldest life forms on the planet, and they thrive in only one specific environment: total darkness, and zero oxygen. When organic waste, cow manure, food scraps, or decaying plant matter, is introduced into an airtight chamber, these methanogens consume the waste. Their natural byproduct is a highly flammable, buoyant gas, but there is a major biological catch. Methanogens are incredibly sensitive to temperature. If the liquid inside the tank drops below 65 degrees Fahrenheit, the bacteria go dormant and the gas production stops completely. This is the exact reason why modern DIY backyard biogas systems fail so miserably during the winter. A plastic tank sitting above ground in January will freeze solid, rendering the system useless when you need hot food the most. The Amish master builders solved this thermodynamic problem with the earth vault technique. They do not leave their digesters exposed to the freezing air. They bury the entire primary tank deep underground, well below the regional frost line, often wrapping the exterior of the tank in tightly packed straw, raw sheep's wool, or rigid foam for natural insulation. By submerging the tank into the earth, they lock it into the planet's constant 50 to 55 degree thermal baseline. But 55 degrees is still too cold for peak, rapid methane production. To push the bacteria into hyperdrive during the dead of a Pennsylvania winter and generate massive amounts of pressurized gas, the Amish use a brilliant piece of passive thermal bridging that costs absolutely nothing to operate. They tap directly into the exact same thermodynamic engine we uncovered in our very first documentary, the wood-fired masonry heater. Inside the farmhouse, the family is already burning scrap wood to keep the heavy stone walls warm. By installing a simple copper heat exchanger coil inside that masonry heater, they create a gravity-fed thermosiphon loop. A closed line of water travels from the hot stove out of the house and spirals around the outside of the buried earth gas digester tank before returning to the stove. Because hot water naturally seeks to rise and cold water naturally falls, this continuous loop circulates automatically. There are no electric circulation pumps. There are no thermostats. As the family heats their home, a portion of that thermal energy is quietly bled into the subterranean vault. It gently raises the temperature inside the digester from a dormant 50 degrees to a biologically perfect 95 degrees Fahrenheit, the exact mesophilic sweet spot where methanogen bacteria breed exponentially. At 95 degrees, the biological engine roars to life. The bacteria aggressively consume the manure and kitchen waste, exhaling massive volumes of raw, combustible biogas. But generating the gas is only the first half of the survival equation. If you simply trap methane inside a rigid sealed tank, the internal pressure will build until the tank catastrophically ruptures. Furthermore, appliances like a kitchen stove require a specific, constant pressure to operate safely. You cannot run a stove on a wildly fluctuating gas line. Modern industrial biogas plants solve this with tens of thousands of dollars worth of digital pressure regulators, electronic relief valves, and reinforced steel compression spheres. The Amish solve it with a brilliant 100-year-old piece of mechanical physics known as the floating drum accumulator. Adjacent to the buried primary digester, the Amish builder installs a second, modified containment system. They take a heavy-duty, 275-gallon plastic IBC tote, cut the top off, fill it halfway with water. Then they take a second, slightly smaller tank, invert it upside down, and slide it directly into the water bath. The water acts as an impenetrable, frictionless liquid seal. As the raw biogas bubbles out of the primary digester, it is piped directly up into the belly of this inverted floating drum. Because the gas is trapped by the water seal, it has nowhere to go but up. As the volume of gas increases, the internal drum physically rises out of the water. Floating on a cushion of pure methane, this floating drum is the ultimate off-grid pressure regulator. To dictate the exact gas pressure being delivered to the kitchen stove, the Amish do not use delicate brass regulator dials that can freeze or fail. They simply use gravity. By placing heavy cinder blocks or stone pavers directly on top of the floating drum, they artificially weigh it down. The heavier the weight pushing down on the drum, the higher the gas pressure being pushed through the output pipe. It is an indestructible, self-regulating mechanical battery. As the family cooks dinner, bleeding gas out of the system, the drum slowly sinks. As the bacteria generate more gas overnight, the drum rises. The pressure remains absolutely constant, 24 hours a day, driven entirely by the weight of concrete, but raw biogas straight from a digester is not ready for a modern kitchen. It contains trace amounts of hydrogen sulfide, a highly corrosive, toxic gas that smells like rotten eggs. If you burn raw biogas in your home, the hydrogen sulfide will quickly corrode your cast iron stove burners and create a toxic, suffocating environment. The propane industry loves to point out this danger, using it as their primary argument to zoning boards that homemade biogas is a lethal hazard that must be strictly outlawed. They want you to believe that scrubbing hydrogen sulfide requires a multi-million-dollar chemical refinery. The Amish achieve it using a piece of 4-inch PVC pipe and a handful of rusted steel wool. Before the biogas ever reaches the farmhouse, passes through a simple inline filter cartridge known as an iron sponge. The Amish pack a length of pipe with coarse wood chips and oxidized iron shavings, essentially rusty metal scrap from the blacksmith shop. When the raw biogas passes through this chamber, a beautiful chemical reaction occurs. The toxic hydrogen sulfide binds instantly to the iron oxide, trapping the sulfur inside the pipe and leaving only pure, odorless, clean-burning methane to flow into the house. Once a year, the farmer simply opens the pipe, pulls out the rusted iron wool, and replaces it with fresh scrap. What arrives at the kitchen stove is a fuel indistinguishable from commercial natural gas. It burns with a crisp, intensely hot blue flame. It creates no soot, leaves no ash, and costs absolutely $0 to produce. You have just built a decentralized, infinite fuel refinery in your backyard using salvaged tanks, water, and rust. So why does attempting to build this specific system on a suburban property immediately trigger a brutal, coordinated legal assault from your local municipality? The moment you file a permit for an anaerobic digestion system, you are no longer dealing with a simple building inspector. You cross the invisible tripwire of the International Fuel Gas Code, IFGC, and the EPA's solid waste management regulations. In the 1990s, heavily influenced by fossil fuel lobbyists, municipal codes were rewritten to strictly classify any structure producing methane as a hazardous industrial facility. They dictate that you cannot legally store combustible gas in uncertified, non-ASME pressure vessels. A floating plastic tote weighed down with cinder blocks, despite being mathematically flawless and incapable of explosive compression due to the open water seal, is immediately classified as an illegal uncertified bomb. Furthermore, health departments use black water regulations to claim that handling agricultural waste for gas production constitutes operating an unpermitted biohazardous waste treatment plant. They use an overlapping web of fire codes, sanitation laws, and zoning ordinances to ensure that producing your own cooking fuel is a bureaucratic nightmare that ends in massive fines or property liens. They have built a legal fortress around your gas meter, ensuring that your only option to boil water is to pay the corporate toll. But the old order Amish are masters of bureaucratic invisibility. They have spent a century perfecting the legal loopholes required to keep these systems fully operational, completely hidden from the state, and technically compliant with the very laws designed to destroy them. If a county code enforcement officer drives down a dirt road in Lancaster County and spots a massive buried tank system behind an Amish dairy barn, they don't see an illegal, unpermitted residential gas refinery. They see a completely legal, highly encouraged, and federally protected piece of agricultural infrastructure. They see a liquid manure management vault. This is the brilliant regulatory judo of the agricultural slurry exemption. Under the Federal Right to Farm Act and state-level environmental protections, agricultural operations are heavily encouraged and often legally mandated to safely contain animal waste to prevent nitrogen runoff from contaminating local watersheds. By burying a sealed tank to hold dairy manure, the Amish farmer is operating in perfect, absolute compliance with the Environmental Protection Agency's watershed guidelines. But what about the massive volume of highly flammable methane gas bubbling out of that manure? Under the letter of the law, that gas is legally classified not as a primary residential fuel, but as a hazardous biological byproduct of the waste containment system. And according to safety regulations, hazardous methane cannot simply be allowed to build up in a confined space. It must be safely vented or flared off to prevent an explosion. So, the Amish farmer runs a pipe from his legally mandated manure vault through the iron sponge filter and into his kitchen. When his wife turns the dial on her stove and lights a massive blue flame to boil water for morning oats, she is not technically operating an illegal residential gas appliance. In the eyes of the bureaucratic paperwork, she is simply operating the safety flare for the farm's waste management system. They use the government's own strict environmental containment laws to completely bypass the International Fuel Gas Code. They hide an infinite, zero-cost energy refinery in plain sight by legally defining the fuel as garbage. But bringing that gas into the kitchen presents one final critical engineering hurdle. If you take a standard, store-bought propane or natural gas stove and hook it up to a low-pressure earth gas well, it will fail miserably. You will get nothing but a tiny, pathetic, sputtering yellow flicker. The propane industry designed it that way. Modern stoves are engineered specifically for highly pressurized, commercially refined liquid petroleum. The brass valves hidden beneath the burners of a modern stove contain microscopic exit holes, called orifices, that are engineered to restrict high-pressure gas. Because the Amish floating drum accumulator operates at a much lower, safer pressure, the biogas simply cannot squeeze through those tiny factory orifices fast enough to create a usable flame. The appliance industry wants you to believe that if you want to burn alternative fuels, you need to buy specialized, $1,000 biogas certified appliances. The Amish solve the problem in 5 minutes using a $5 jeweler's reamer or a micro drill bit. They simply unscrew the brass orifice from the standard stove, take a micro drill bit, and carefully widen the hole by a fraction of a millimeter. By increasing the diameter of the exit hole, they allow the high-volume, low-pressure biogas to flow freely into the burner ring. When they strike a match, that pathetic yellow flicker instantly transforms into a massive, roaring, oxygen-rich blue flame. They can run a standard, brand-name kitchen stove forever without it ever being attached to a commercial gas meter. And here is the ultimate hidden secret of the earth gas well, the reason why this system is the crown jewel of off-grid sovereignty. When you buy a tank of propane, you burn it, the tank goes empty, and you are left with nothing but a bill. It is a parasitic relationship. But the anaerobic digester is a biological engine that produces two things. After 30 days inside the heated 95-degree subterranean vault, the bacteria have consumed all the volatile solids in the manure and food scraps. What is left over is pumped out of the bottom of the tank. This leftover liquid is known as digestate. Because the anaerobic process completely destroys weed seeds and dangerous pathogens like E. coli, this liquid is no longer raw, hazardous waste. It has been alchemically transformed into the most potent bioavailable, nitrogen-rich organic fertilizer on the planet. Modern commercial farmers spend tens of thousands of dollars every spring buying synthetic, petroleum-based fertilizers from multinational chemical companies just to keep their soil alive. The Amish generate hundreds of gallons of superior organic fertilizer for free, simply as the waste product of making their own cooking gas. They use the waste to make the gas. They use the byproduct to fertilize the crops. The crops feed the livestock make the waste. The loop is closed. The perimeter is secured. The multi-billion-dollar utility and chemical monopolies are locked completely out of the property. A modern suburban home is a financial bleeding wound. You pay the gas company to cook your food. You pay the sanitation department to haul away your food scraps. You pay the hardware store for fertilizer to grow your garden. The system is meticulously engineered to ensure you pay a corporate toll at every single stage of your existence. The $300 Amish earth gas well proves that the toll is a lie. I want you to head down to the comments right now and answer this honestly. If the highways froze solid tomorrow and the propane delivery trucks stopped running in your county, exactly how many hot meals could your family cook before the tanks ran dry? The algorithm actively suppresses this kind of true systemic independence, and your comments are the only mechanism we have to force these historical blueprints back into the light. If you are finally ready to stop renting your survival from the grid, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We are building the ultimate library of off-grid sovereignty here on this channel. Next week, we are leaving the kitchen and heading out into the frost. We are pulling the archival files on the 150-year-old Amish ice house, a 0-watt, passive refrigeration architecture that harvests winter ice to keep dairy and meat perfectly frozen through the dead heat of August, using a forgotten insulation physics that the appliance industry prays you never discover. Stay vigilant, stay independent, and I will see you in the next one.